Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 185 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. I am your host, David Reed, and we have Courtenay J Stevens, Lieutenant Elliot, joining us for this episode. Before we get into the thick of it, if you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, please hit that like button. It makes a difference with YouTube and will help the show continue to grow. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. As this is a live show, as most of our shows are, I have a moderating team in the YouTube chat standing by. So go ahead and submit your questions to Courtenay. They'll get them over to me, and we will ask those questions in the second half of the show. In the meantime, he is all mine. How you doing, brother? Courtenay J Stevens.
I'm doing well, David. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. We were just catching up here. You were one of my first interviews on GateWorld, and I don't know if you recall that horrible lighting situation that we had. Oh my God, I could not light a camera to save my life, and it was a crappy camera, too. Yeah. Oh man, that was one of the most awful experiences of my life, to get home, to look at that footage and be like, this guy looks like he's sitting on the sun talking to me. I felt so bad. So I want to apologize for that.
I've been waiting 19 years for that apology.
Jeez. Oh man, how is life been treating you? How's the acting world been treating you? How have you been personally? Talk to me here. Tell me what's been going on in your world. The second half of your life.
My God. Since we last saw each other.
Right. Exactly.
No, it's funny because I remember. It was in Vancouver, and it was Granville Island.
Yep.
I was doing a play, and I think it was during in between shows. I think we hung out on a picnic bench and chatted, and
something to do with a bus, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yeah, great. I remember you going kind of like, what is this? What are you doing? The idea of the show was it's called The Number 14, and it went on for 25 years, and it was like. Wow. Multiple characters that start in one area of a city, in Vancouver in this case, and then they went through in all the different neighborhoods, and it was like, I think it was six actors playing several hundred characters, different masks.
Oh my God. Oh wow, that's right.
Yeah, physical and nonsense. And so and that's been a lot of my life is in theater and in physical theater, which is this kind of catch-all term, but a lot of it is like making funny with my body, making story with my body. So a lot of it like kind of Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, that kind of camp clown, but not like like goofy,
right.
Goofy things, but not scary clowns. That's sort of what a lot of my career has been. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And you talked about Cirque du Soleil a little bit.
Yeah.
What a wild ride that must have been. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was it was amazing. I mean, I was about 4 years doing that. I think probably like 300 cities, and we went to, I don't know, 30 or 40 different countries, and we were on the road and just, every week or two we were changing cities, and it was great. We were like rock stars, like just hopping on our plane on the tarmac, just finishing the show, getting on and flying and opening up another wing in an airport and pouring out and running. There's about 125, 130 of us traveling as a group, and with our own catering and our own support staff, and sometimes security too. Like we were in Russia and South Africa, and we had to have guys who were packing heat. So
yeah. Not every place has the same kind of standards of expectation in terms of like, especially when you're going to big cities. Anything can happen. So that's crazy.
Yeah, that was always wild. Like kind of hang out late at the bar, and you're still hanging out, and Igor's in the corner, kind of just making sure everyone gets home safely.
Duh.
Right. Things.
Jeez, man. Did you get a chance when you're in these cities and in these different parts of the world to really enjoy the place that you're in, or was your career so busy that you only had a chance to like run into a bar after a show and decompress? Did you ever really get to experience the cities that you were visiting?
Well, yeah, because we were like, it's the joke is my wife always laughs because it's like we're the clowns, and the clowns have our funny, have our silly, but you'd show up and the acrobats are always training and doing stuff and making sure they're physically fit and flying and like really focusing on what they're doing. The clowns are like, just kind of like putting out and just like going doing a mic check and like, okay, great. So we just show up for the show. And so we had a lot of time and sometimes too, like the set would take time to travel between different cities. So yeah, we had a lot of time and it was fantastic journey.
Wow, that's legit.
Yeah.
I have been to 30 countries now, and
Wow.
I am working on your number, and I'm so pleased that I've been able to do that in my life, to be able to see so many different parts of the world. And there are so many parts of the world that I've still got to get to. And I think that there is just something so I think it's important to I think recognize that those of us who are blessed enough to be able to travel and be able to see these different parts of the world and how different people live their lives and how how different and amazing all these different cultures are. I think it's important to remember that t- take the moment every time we're in a place to really appreciate that we're here, and not everyone gets to see where this other place is and gets to experience this different part of the world is. I always have to pinch myself when I travel abroad because it's a blessing that most people don't get to do.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right. And it gives you perspective too, right?
mhm.
And understanding, especially too for yeah, people who have moved to, in my case, Canada or the States from somewhere else for whatever reason, and that sort of change to whatever their circumstances are coming to a new country.
Mhm.
Yeah, very, very different for everyone. But yeah, I feel the same way. I love traveling.
Did you how did you get Elliot? Can you take us back? Did you take
Yeah,
a look at
sure.
the episodes that I sent, or you're like, I'm sorry, I can't get into that.
Well, I'm familiar enough with them. I think. Yeah,
Okay.
I think. I mean, it's interesting. Like it's wild too. Like that I'm even here too, because part of the thing is like I think I was only on 4 episodes, so
Yeah.
I, it's the Stargate fans are phenomenal. Like I really appreciate it because it's like kind of a blip in the sense in my life, like
Yeah.
certainly a highlight of my career, but it wasn't like like some people did the show for many years, where I had pretty short and intense, like hop on because the first episode was like very full on. Um, but and even during the pandemic too, I had a lot of not a lot, but I had several people reach out to me, and I had some fans saying that they've been rewatching and sending me things. I thought, oh my god, like this is amazing. It was just perfect, just kind of what I needed. You're in a pandemic, going, oh
Yeah.
my god, life, ugh. And people saying, hey, this is really great. Thanks for this. So yeah, that kind of lifted my spirits. Um, but yeah, originally getting cast in it, I think I'd auditioned several times for other episodes, and so they were interested, right? Is what it felt like, and then Proving Ground came along. I thought, oh, this is really good part. I really want to,
Mm.
you know, dive into this. Is a good opportunity, and knowing that they were already interested in me. So yeah, so I auditioned, and it was, I got it. It was kind of as simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a great lineup of people with you. You had Grace Park. You had David Kopp.
Mhm.
Um, one of my favorite lines from the entire franchise is O'Neill saying, "They're the future of the Air Force, the program." God help us.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh man. And you did something with this role in just a handful of episodes that have continued to stick with people, I always think back on season 5 fondly, in part because of you, and because it's in those few episodes it is a distinct arc. And as a guest star, how often do you get to do that? That's more rhetorical, but I mean, it's a wild ride.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I think, as I understand it, I think, I mean, someone out there will, I'm sure, correct me about the facts of this, but as I understood it at the time, it was like a pilot within this series. So this was pre-Atlantis. So the idea was, okay, we're going to see if these 4 characters can become the a new squad, and it'll be a spin-off. I think that's what they were exploring with Proving Ground. And again, I don't know if that's fact or not, but that's what I remember at the time. And then it was a one-off. And then I think even the other two episodes when Elliot came back wasn't originally supposed to happen. And then I think they changed their mind on where the pilot was going to go, where what Atlantis was going to be, and then they plugged us into some other storylines.
it's entirely possible. I've not explored that thread with the folks who created Proving Ground. I do remember. Are you familiar with J.R. Bourne?
Hmm.
So Martouf had died in season 4, but Lantash had lived. Obviously, he
Yeah,
he found his way to you. But Martouf, Jr. was supposed to come back for that 2-parter, and there was a scheduling conflict.
yeah,
So it made a lot of sense to adapt, one of the roles from the recent episodes, and give you, a chance to spread your wings a little bit more and do something in Summit and Last Stand. And so for that part of it, that's where that story arc came from. So they
yeah,
couldn't get JR, and so they gave it to you guys, or they
yeah,
gave it to you to carry on that. And then, I mean, David Kopp came back as Grogan later in the season, so unfortunately we didn't see Haley or Satterfield again. But it's great to see a team of writers who are looking back and saying, okay, what do we have here? What do we have in the inventory? How can we adjust
yeah,
this forward and expand on these stories that we already have?
yeah, yeah. No, it's true, because I remember that. I remember that kind of coming out of the blue that summer, the other episodes, because I was doing a movie, I think, and I think it just kind of fit as well. It bookended what I was shooting, or it all kind of came together. But it was very last minute, and like you say, I think it was a scheduling thing that they had me kind of on hold. This may or may not happen based on like you said, it's scheduling, it's figuring it out, who you have, and what storylines can be judged in different directions.
Are you saying you were on contract for additional episodes?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
I was doing something else, and then they were saying that's when they said those 2 episodes were probably
I see.
probably going to land because of Jared's scheduling.
Got it. Okay. Hey, that's awesome for you.
Totally, absolutely.
Who was this guy to you? What kind of an upbringing did he have? What uh, who was this young man that he found his way into the Air Force in your mind?
Yeah.
Who was Elliot?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think he was very much like ambitious in the sense of having a strong sense of the right thing, and fighting for right and wrong, and
Mm.
I think there's an innocence, but like the feeling of probably like grew up on superheroes and that sort of thing. Like that, there's like, and so it's a chance to be that person, right? And have these tough choices, and make the right choices
Mm.
as someone who will sacrifice, and even in proving ground, like sacrificing, and then like, oh, that we're really just kidding, and then later on to actually make the same sacrifice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right. He was
yeah,
ready to go. And,
yeah,
that first one, you can put me down now, hero.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
then, that scene uh, at the end of Last Stand, and you hear the horns, and you hear the footsteps of the Jaffa. Uh, and at the same time, he's not alone. He's with Lantash. That
yeah,
was I'm sure I told you this at the time. Summit and Last Stand were my favorite episodes at the time that they had. For a couple of years, they were my favorites, partly because of that ending. The show
yeah,
was so good at just, this is it. You're leaving us here, but you step back and look at it, and you're like, you have enough information. You know what comes next, and it's not pretty.
yeah.
Um, uh, what did you think of that script when you got that? It's like, well, if we're gonna go out, this is this
Yeah.
is this is a good one to go on.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I wanted more, right? Like, because, like you said, it was such a uh, an intense start. There was an investment in this character to begin with,
Yeah.
and then to snuff him out so quickly after after establishing, I was like, oh my man, that's too bad, because it's like it seems like there's more, there's farther to go. But as you say, like if you're gonna go out, like go out with a bang, like literally. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It's
Who?
funny too. You mentioned Haley's "You Can Put Me Down Now" hero. I remember that, trying to figure out. I used to run a lot. I was training for a marathon, I think. So I'm a thin guy to begin with. But particularly then, I think I was pretty thin. I wasn't super hefty and strong. And I had to pick her up. And I remember having
Ah,
a hard time picking her up. And I think you can just see it in the shot. She has her foot on the ground, and she kind of does a. I pick her up, and she helps me out with a bit of a boost, because I couldn't pick her up. I felt bad, and then she felt insulted, and
of course.
it's like, oh no, this is gonna end badly.
Who of the cast did you really enjoy the most? Who's stuck out with you over the years?
Well, David and I were, we became good buds on that. I mean, we haven't talked to each other for years, but I think during that time, yeah, we became good friends. Amanda was really great. She was really cool. And I think because that first episode, it was a lot. I was carrying the episode, and it was
Yeah.
quite a lot. And she was very, very open, and invited me back to her trailer to have lunch and sort of chat, and just invite me in, because sometimes it's hard too when you show up on a show that's been running for a while, like you're the new person, right? And then, especially in a situation like this, to show up and be the lead of the episode, sometimes, yeah, it can be a bit of a day or so to get things rolling,
Hmm.
because yeah, you're wanting to fit in with what's already been established, right? You're like the new kid in school.
This is a huge guest star role.
Hmm.
Generally in the stories, the guest stars support something that the leads are doing. There's a lot of exposition and anything, and this was very different because it really is about the guest stars in this case, and you being the lead of that group. I can imagine, on a crew of 150 people, that can be in a show that's been going very successfully, ticking along for 5 years. That can be kind of daunting. I can imagine those first couple of days were a little bit stressful. And Amanda has been known. I talked just with Michael Welsh about this earlier this week, about inviting people into her trailer in a time where the leads, really only have so long to decompress, and lunch hour
Yeah.
is kind of like a sanctuary if they get one at that. But
Yeah.
no, bring you in. let's, spend a little bit of time together. Let's become a little bit more familiar with each other in the context of the work. And, it made such an impression on people. But I can only imagine, coming into this kind of a show and being expected to carry that much of the script.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's a physical episode.
Yeah.
You're running and there's burning fires. I mean, it's a wild show.
Yeah. 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 I love that part of it in particular too. Like say, like the running and gunning, like I really enjoy that. Like I said earlier, like I'm a physical performer, and that was really a treat to get all the training and yeah, and practice and a lot of different military training and and then also again, yeah, I think I had to drag David too at one point to get shot.
Keeps on going down.
Yeah, I know, man. I should have been working out for this had I known.
The funny thing was in his next episode, or he comes back for the Sentinel later on in the season. He's the only one left of his team still alive, so it was like a role reversal for him. That was funny. Had you had firearms training before in any work? Was this a new experience for you, or was this just okay? Let's go ahead and learn this. Where had that fallen for you? Had you worked with firearms before?
A little bit,
okay.
But not to this level. Not to this level. Especially like being this, really having to know military like protocol. Like that was different. Certainly been on set and had some guns and in person too. Like I grew up in the country and Dad had a gun and we go out shooting occasionally, but that's obviously a very different thing. But no, this was definitely the most intense, and I loved it. It was really cool just to get the specifics on it and to learn, like I said, to make it look real and learn the protocol and learn how to move and how to run and how to shoot.
I think that would be one of the things that would really trip me up the most, because there are military fans of this show. I mean, there are platoons that would watch it together, and they're going to be looking to see that what you're doing, and you have not only to carry this dialogue and hit all these physical beats in each of these scenes, but you have to be carrying these things like you've been experienced with them for years. And if you don't pull that off, someone's going to catch it, and it's going to be on there forever. It's like
yeah,
that would be wild.
Yeah, I think there was, I can't remember who it was, but I mean the specialist on set, he was really good, and he would, after he'd be able to check after a take to make sure that no, you got to make sure you do this. No, you haven't that. No, you wouldn't do that. It'd be like this, and just fine tuning so it was as authentic as possible.
Have you had any military fans who've communicated with you over the years?
I don't think so.
Specifically?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe, but that hasn't come up in conversation.
Okay, it's the continuing longevity of this show is so supported by the number of people who I'm in decent communication with, who have been a part of the Air Force or the overall military, and really appreciate this show for what it is, which is a true representation on the Earth side of things, to their experiences. My father, U.S. Army major, retired. It's a great show that shows our men and women in uniform who make sacrifices, and like the ultimate sacrifice, but just with a sci-fi twist, a sci-fi setting. So it must be cool to be a part of something with quality behind it, that's been treated with care and reverence over 17 television seasons.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? That it's had such an enduring impact, and there's so much love for it. Like I mean, it's been 19 years since since, you know what I mean? Like, and here we are, like, really? Oh my God, that's incredible.
And
That's
Amazon's gonna put out a new one here in in the next 6 months to a couple of years. We're just waiting
yeah,
to hear from them. So it's wild. This thing's the legs that this thing's got.
yeah, yeah. What? Why do you think that is?
I think because it's specifically to Stargate, it's contemporary. It's a an angle of sci-fi that is very accessible to us because it is us. I always relate back to the scene in season 2 where Sam's getting ready to go off world, and she's got to go into the back of the control room to call her dad, who's going through treatments, chemotherapy treatments because he has lymphoma. But she's got to go and negotiate with the Tok'ra for the first time because we're possibly getting this new ally.
Yeah,
And there is something that we can relate to with that more than a Star Trek or a Battlestar, because it's we could be running into these folks in the supermarket and saying hello to them, in the aisle, and you'd never know that they were under this mountain, protecting us from this alien threat. And I think that's tantalizing. I think that's I think that speaks to so many layers of, and the fact that it's got humor, it's funny, and it takes itself not too seriously.
yeah.
What do you think carries it forwards as much as it has?
Gosh, I don't know what to add on to that. I mean, it's always, and I'm not a sci-fi person specifically,
Okay.
so I don't necessarily know um, between different shows, but I know that this has such, yeah, it's just really hooked into people.
Hmm.
And I think you're right. I think there certainly is some of the comedy, some of the and the accessibility, like that it is sci-fi and like you say, the person in the grocery store, so you can connect to it. It's not super futuristic. It
Hmm.
could be. It could be, right? It could be have this access, this portal to other worlds,
Hmm.
and and you come home or you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you don't.
yeah.
I'd like to pivot away from Stargate for a moment. Um, is there a role that you've had that pushed you in ways that you didn't expect to be pushed, or um, shaped you, in a very, even in a minor way, as a person?
Hmm.
Is there something that's really stuck with you? That's like, wow, that was an experience, or man, I'm glad I don't have to do that again.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe or I want to do it again.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I think back, a lot of like I said before, like a lot of my career has been on stage, and
Yeah.
that's been a big focus of mine. And that's uh, it's challenging because it to talk about in the sense that, well, you had to be there to see it, and so it's
Right.
right rather than that being on screen. Everything is it's more tangible. But I think a lot of my big experiences have been on stage, and in particular because uh, you can't fix it in post, right? It's happening live, and you do get. And we talk about arcs. You get that whole arc over the 60 or 90 minutes or
Uh,
whatever it is, and it's you put the time in to build the blocks, and then you do it. And that's the biggest difference that compared to doing something on screen where you go, I think we've got it. I mean, everyone seems to think we've got it. Okay. And then you just kind of wait and then see it, and you see it all pieced together and like, oh, thank God it works. Right. There's a little bit more control, I think, when on stage, because you could dry, you could forget your lines. Someone else could forget their lines. Someone, whatever people could walk out, anything's possible, right? And I like that, so as far as one, I mean, I don't know, I've had a handful certainly on stage that have really shaped me. I did a show too that just finished a few years ago, just around the pandemic starting. It was a solo show, and again, physical theater. It was I toured it all over the world, and it was Mr. Bean meets Charlie Chaplin playing the piano, and it was wordless, and it was silly and uh, just catastrophe, physical catastrophe, and it was such a physical challenge, and it was participatory and bringing the audience up, and it played in different ways. Like in China, it played a certain way, in Malta, it played a different way, and then in France, they were when I went over France, like that really felt like, oh my God, I heard encore, and like, oh, and that's in French. That they actually mean it.
Right.
Oh, that's sincere. Yeah, that felt like, whew. Yeah.
Wow. So how much of that specific show was bringing people in from the audience, would you say? I'm curious now.
Mm, there was probably like, it would, depending how engaged they were, because the idea is like I'm a it's a very simple premise. Like I'm a concert pianist who's going to play like the best performance, the best concerto of my life, and very high status, and walking out, and then everything goes wrong. And
Can you play?
the thing. Well, I had to learn. I had to learn for this, and then
Wow.
then the piano kind of smokes and blows up at the end. It's like a trick piano, and the legs fall off, and I got to stick my leg in, and I'm doing acrobatics off of it, and the keys break, and like all kinds of stuff, and I have to, like I said, I get lost in the audience, and I have to get them to help throw me back on stage, and I got to get someone off stage to come on up, and then I mean this one show, like you talk about audience participation. This one time in I think in Japan, I couldn't get anyone up. They were very and reluctant, and that's okay, And so I have other outs. And then in Malta, I was so playful with them that the stage got swarmed. It
Oh.
was it was these kids, and they were so engaged, and they were so happy, and they were hopping on the stage. It's like, oh my God, I have like 20, 30, 40, 50 kids coming up on stage. And but again, it became like, this is the show, this is the
Yeah.
live thing, and I'm running around, and they're chasing me, and the teachers are trying to pull them off, and
Oh
bring.
no.
It was like total chaos. So I learned, like, oh gosh, I won't do that one again. Um,
Is
but
this a one man show?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and it's wordless too, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it could go all over the place.
There's
Yeah.
something special about Malta.
Oh
That is
yeah.
a windy rock in the ocean. Man, oh man. I'll have to
Yeah.
we have to share some stories about Malta at some point. But
Yeah.
man,
Totally.
please tell me you filmed this. I would love to see it. Please tell me you filmed a session somewhere.
Yes, there's some footage out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I really want to see this. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sure. I
So
will.
there is something about connecting with an audience live that you just cannot duplicate. It's one of my regrets of my middle age is that I've not, set aside some time and go and audition for something in local theater or anything else, because it is electric when you become any part of a process that makes that brings a show that you care about to life. And especially like a one-man show where everything is hanging on you, but when it's like it's like you're riding the top of a wave,
Yeah. Totally.
and it sounds like something like that, where you have some flexibility to tailor it toward whatever part of the country you're in, or whatever the part of the world you're in. And then on top of that, you got to tailor it to your specific audience. You have to really read that room.
Yeah.
That's got to be, you have to be ready to pivot. If they're not cooperating, or, it's like, well, I have to get on to the next bit to get to this thing, bring this thing home.
Yeah.
That had to have been, how long did you do that?
I did that about 3 years,
Wow.
2016, 2019. I was back and forth. It was mostly Europe, and then
Okay.
parts of Asia as well. But yeah, it was kind of like, for a while I'd go over to Europe it was like I was almost commuting. I remember going over like for a week, and then coming back, and then going back like 3 weeks later, and then back, and then going back 2 weeks later. So a lot of festivals, and then longer runs in Asia. I was there for a longer period of time.
Wow. Okay. Is
And
this something you could revisit, or have you put that one to bed? You want to do something else?
I think it might be done. There was talk
Yeah.
about it coming out of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and it's the producers are out of France, and so we were talking about it, but I think it might be done. And also, it's pretty tough on the bond. Like the things I was doing was really tough, and so I have to respect that I don't know how much I want to tempt injury, really.
Hmm.
Yeah. repetitive strain and some of the tricks and things I was doing, um, my 25-year-old self would have really killed. But
Right.
Elliot would have been great. He would
Elliot would have been fine.
have
There is, I especially for like a one man show or or a meaty role where you have um, emotional depth that you have to hollow into, and taking yourself into all these different places. The thing that I can't get over, in watching some of these performances is knowing that a person night after night, sometimes 2 times a day, would have to repeat that same sequence again and again. And I would imagine that after a while, it would be some of the more emotional parts that a lot of you have to portray would be so draining after a while that it's like, how do you sustain a performance for years on end that requires you to go to the darkest parts of your psyche? I'm assuming you've done those again and again and again without just wanting to go away and bury yourself.
yeah.
Do you have to like partition off your mind? How do you as a performer do that? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. It's almost like a respect, of the art, of the story, of craft and self, that I just wouldn't feel. I wouldn't feel if I cut corners. Like I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be
Yeah.
right, because you always want. And that's the thing too. There's always a little bit more you want to try it to make it better or different. And also that's the other thing, trying not to repeat what you did the night
Yeah.
before. So it is fresh and new and allowing it to go in a different direction. It doesn't have to be like a wildly different direction, but just um, different colors to come in. And again, with the audience too, because it ends up being a relationship too. So
Yeah.
if they're into it, then you can spend more time. If they're not, then you got to pick up the pace. You have to listen to the energy in the room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not wanting to compromise on your art. I like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do this, we're gonna give them the full value of their ticket.
Yeah.
They're here to see. They're here not to watch you phone it in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And also because it's like that's to me too. When I was young, I remember seeing performances and being inspired, right?
Mm,
And so perhaps there's someone out there that you're touching. Ideally, that's why they're there. They want
right.
to serve it, so you want to make sure that you're being authentic.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now? Anything in particular that we can be on the lookout for, or is there anywhere that we can come and see you in the near future? Or
Yeah, I just well, a couple things. It's ridiculous. I've been working on my house for a long time, so come and
hey,
bring a hammer because I've been
I
renovating.
we could work something out.
So, but I got another about a month. I started another play, another physical play called 39 Steps, and it's like clown and a bunch of different characters, and a lot of silly things, and that's my friend's directing it, and so that's
Ah,
that's really ideal.
you enjoy the physical abuse, don't you?
I kind of do. I kinda do. I just did a film. I had a small part in a film recently called The Invisibles with Tim Blake Nelson
Yes,
and Gretchen Wild.
Arthur, post production, so that's on its
Yeah,
way out.
yeah. We just finished that up a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean, I have a small part in it, but it was nice to be on set and nice to be hanging around with a bunch of good actors and a cool story and uh, yeah, some really good people and Bruce Greenwood as well.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, he's great. He was visiting. Well, he was here and uh, Tim had his guitar and he was playing, in between takes, just like, playing a lot of stuff. And then Bruce would get up and he's quite a guitar player and he was without one. So I said, oh my gosh, I got something kicking around that I just am not playing. And his eyes lit up. So I brought it to him, and he's working out of town. I know what it's like when you're working out of town, you're away from your family, and
Yeah.
what are you doing for the weekend? Like nothing. You're in
Right.
wherever, right? Going out for dinner, and then you got time in your hands. So he just tore up my guitar for a week. He loved it. He loved it. He
Wow.
was so thankful. Yeah.
So those are the things that you don't forget. Those are the memories that you take with you.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
what a performer! What a cool guy.
Yeah. Totally.
I haven't watched season 2 of The Boys yet.
Right.
What was that show like to be a part of, even
That
in a
was
small
great.
way?
Yeah. I mean, I just popped on, and it was. I didn't even know anything about the show because it was. I don't even know that it had come out, and I auditioned for it, and then I just have again just a small part on it,
Yeah,
and but it was yeah, and then it became The Boys. Like, oh, okay, that's
yeah,
that show, right?
yeah.
And sometimes too, like you wonder, um, you want to you want to be on a show, and you want the best part on the show before it finishes, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, so this is a small part, but had I known it was going to be such a good show, I may have held off and
Held
seen,
off.
yeah, seeing if something else could have happened. But anyway, that was, yeah, it was pretty. It's a quite a series, that one.
Yeah. It wouldn't stop me from continuing to audition.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's sci-fi. Anything can
yeah,
happen.
totally,
It's
totally.
wild. That is an intense series.
Yeah,
But I love. I personally have really come to superhero exhaustion, and
yeah,
to have a show that turns those stereotypes on its head
yeah,
and really shows the darker aspects of our society.
yeah,
The parts of it that are definitely real,
yeah,
is refreshing.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
So
No, that's a good take on it because I feel similarly that there's a lot of content out there.
it's hard to watch, but it's a rewarding show for sure.
Yeah.
I have some fan questions.
Oh,
General Maximus wanted to know, when you did Proving Ground, did you have an idea at that point that there could potentially be more, like this potential spinoff that you were talking about, or was that only after getting after wrapping that script?
yeah. It was in the air.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't explicit, but that was certainly the feeling that I was kind of a young O'Neill,
Hmm.
like that was potential for this to be something else. Um, and then interestingly, then I remember this is how long ago it was because I remember being in I was doing a show in London, and that's when this didn't happen. Like so the spin-off didn't happen with this
Hmm.
story, but then Atlantis was coming up, and then I was doing a show in London, and then they were interested in me, um, and they wanted to see me audition, but it was so hard to audition from London and get the audition back to Vancouver
Hmm.
because what year it was, right? Like we couldn't just like send videos or do a Zoom call like this, like just how technology has changed. And so that was like, well, we can't see you because you're out of town. And then I
Right.
came back, and then I got the other episode
For Keras. You mean
for Atlantis.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's it's I I think you are one of the few who have had such prominent exposure in a show who then came back later on to do another part. Garwin Sanford, I think, would probably be the most notable as Nareem, and then came back in Atlantis as Simon.
yeah.
Um, I,
I
I
was gonna
meant,
say, Garland, he taught me in theater school in Vancouver. He came in
wow, really?
film acting. Yeah,
Wow, man, there's so much talent in this
yeah,
show. From all different aspects of that city up there. It's just exploded since production had ended. I meant to get to this earlier, but I apologize. Tell us about coming back for Keras in Childhood's End. Martin Garrow's first episode. Martin Garrow
yeah.
just has taken off.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. He's doing just fine.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. That was again, another fun. So not like there was a similarity between the characters too, like between Elliot and Keras in a way. Like this again, um, character that knew what right and wrong was in a different context, right? In a different context, and a leader, and willing to do whatever it takes,
Duty.
right? Yeah, duty, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a wild script.
yeah,
And part of me wishes that it went a darker way.
yeah,
But you know, it's you can't. You have to have some of that sci-fi be like, more uplifting and optimistic. I think if that episode had been later on in Atlantis, I think he may have gone ahead and died. You
yeah,
know, but I think that's one of the more positive traits of Stargate is that it's continued to um, it continues to promote a positive uh, overall a positive sci-fi. What was it like working with that cast as opposed to SG-1? They were in their first season still. The Mario's a Party shot that episode. Everyone was not shot. Was it Childhood's End? No, that was it Mario's a Party or was it? No, no, it was David Winning directed that
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
What was your experience like on Childhood's End in that
Great.
regard?
David was great. I remember we had a good chat and a good meeting before, and he was really keen to um, discuss
Mm,
what he wanted to accomplish and hear my thoughts on it. Um, and he'd seen my other episodes and was confident in me and so that was nice. So that was nice coming in with a bit of a track record with the franchise. And like you say, that it was uh, first season. It was also they were still gelling to a certain degree, and a really friendly, easy set to go on. And it was also
mm,
nice because there were a handful of us coming on as well, like Dominic as well. You know,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's from carrying people forward from previous episodes. That's uh, it's a great one off, and it's just a positive episode in general. You know, they're still trying those early Atlantis episodes. They're still really trying to figure things out, and
yeah,
the show kind of went definitely in a direction, a darker tone and direction as it later went on. But you know, man, Martin Garrow, I've continued to follow his work. You know, I'm a fan of Quantum Leap. That man just. I've never. He's like Stephen King. He just hammers them out. You know,
yeah,
he's just wild.
yeah,
So
yeah. Really, really impressive and inspiring, and also, gosh, makes sometimes people like that. You're like, God, what am I going to do with my life? Right?
right,
God, how dare you?
exactly. Yeah, I'm well behind on my plans. Jeez, Peace Rider. Courtney, do you have any RDA anecdotes from your time working? So
um, well, I not too many. I remember I mean, he was great. I think he was going through some stuff at the time we were filming, and the only thing I remember was that uh, I mean, it's not even an anecdote.
yeah.
I mean, I feel bad saying this, but I mean, I remember shooting my close-ups with the script supervisor. Normally the other actor is off
Mm-hmm.
camera in the scene, so we'd shoot him out. I'd do we do his close-ups, and then he left
Mm-hmm.
frequently to go. But I think he had some things going on in his life that he needed to take care of. So it's not really a very great
No, but
anecdote.
you have to be
But,
flexible in production. You know, you have to
totally.
be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it
and
wasn't, it wasn't, and it wasn't him being a jerk or anything, because
no.
he had a lot on his plate, I think. And also, I don't think we didn't have as much to do, really. We weren't just Proving Ground. We had a little bit, a couple of scenes, but yeah, not too much.
Mm.
No, I remember Chris. Uh, he he was like, because I was injured, and I mean injured, right? And he had to carry me,
And
and
Last Stand, yeah.
exactly, and he was carrying me, and he was getting really sick of that, and he was just like, "Come on, man, can you just act better? Just act like you're so heavy. Like, just stop. Just help me out here." And he's a massive man. Like he wasn't having trouble.
Yeah, like I'm like a rag doll on your back too. Just do your thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. um, Gabby Federer. Do you think there's a chance that Elliot and Lantash survived?
Oh gosh, why not? That's let's say that's happening somewhere out there. Why not? Let's say that there's another world, another plane of existence where
Oh,
they're
that's funny.
yeah.
Philippe Canot. What was it like working with Grace Park before she turned Cylon?
Oh, Grace was great. Grace was easy. She was just easy and yeah, just fun and easy going. Really lovely person. Yeah, I saw her again. We worked on a show called The Border about 10 years after that. Had a brief appearance there, and she was on that before she really popped.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Battlestar?
I didn't. I mean, I have so many friends. I've seen a few episodes. I have so many
Oh, okay.
friends that worked on it. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good show, man.
It's a hit, right? Again,
Yeah.
just a hit.
It is a 70 episode movie. It is one story. It's one of those where if you set aside time to watch it, you'd enjoy it from beginning to
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. One of those things that yes, I should watch, especially because I have so many pals.
Absolutely. Melody, Last Stand, in that last scene, extremely moving. Considering Elliot had blended with Lantash, you had history with Carter. How did that all? I mean, a lot comes into that little moment, where she puts her hand on his head and then says goodbye. Did you just play the scene honestly? It's like, well, okay, I've got a being inside of me who's in love with you. You have been someone who has taken care of me in this program. That's a lot to throw at a person to, okay, and act.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think, like I was saying earlier, there was a good connection with Amanda as a person and as an actor, and she's very generous, and so that made it easier to find that connection. And I think we also, I remember, I think it um, um, was it Andy? No, who directed? It wasn't Andy. Was that Martin?
For Last Stand,
Yeah,
I can
can't
find
remember.
out easily enough.
Was it Andy McKim?
It was probably direct. Yeah, it was directed by Martin Wood.
It was Martin. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember it was really nice direction. I just remember him, coming in and just saying, like, it's all gone, everything's you're walking away, and you're all by yourself. And whatever it was, just kind of whispering, like just painting the picture, like of helping me see like the end and what I'm doing. And we did that a couple of times, and it was, I can't specifically remember what he said, but I remember it being very effective, which you don't always get, right? Especially yeah, especially in that context, because there was no sound like right at the end, so he's able to speak over and just help with the interior thoughts. And sometimes if a person does that, it could also be distracting because the interior thoughts aren't connecting. But I really respected that, and he was on the same page and helped kind of coach me through it.
Wow.
I remember being in one take too, laying against a tree, and I was so into it. And I think a mosquito came down, and like we kept feeling a mosquito like landed and was like biting me. And I think we got the take, but I was just so into it, and I got a smack. I think Amanda like smacked it off to save me, but we didn't end up using that one.
You and me, mosquito. You're my last friend in the world.
Oh, So tragic.
Jeez. Man, Courtney, this has been really great, man. It's been good seeing you. And I wish you all the best. I do want to see this performance, because I want an idea of you as a physical actor. I've not seen any of this, so it means a lot to me that you took some time to catch up, and it's
Well, I'll tell
just
you
good to
one.
see you.
I'll tell you one other thing. Speaking of the blending of the two, on the Umbrella Academy, I did a physical bit there in season 2. AJ Carmichael, and was like a character with a fish tank for a head, and it was not
Oh my god.
a fish tank, and it's just like this fish swimming around in water. So that was like a nice blending of those two worlds.
I've been meaning to watch this series.
Yeah,
That's something to look
yeah,
forward to. I'll go check it
yeah.
out.
Hopefully you won't recognize me because it's a fish in a tank. But I mean, if you recognize from here down, yeah, if you say it looks just like you, that's not very kind.
Oh, that's great, dude.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you, man. Thank you for
Okay.
coming on the show. All right.
And also, I want you to there's still time to audition for that theater you're talking about, to get on stage and feel
You're
it.
not wrong. My
I
mother
want to
is,
see
I'm sure,
that.
screaming right now. Yes, do it. So you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You have to do the things that make you happy,
Yes.
and you have to
Absolutely.
make time for things other than just work. And I'm
Yeah.
talking to me here. So
Well, and also congrats on this. Speaking of making time and work, like you've turned this passion for this show into your career.
it has turned out that way over the course of my
That's
life so
impressive.
far. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very thankful to Stargate.
Yeah.
Sure, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful to everyone who has tuned in to watch us, because
Yeah.
you can't just continue to do this in a vacuum. People have to resonate, as people have to resonate with the work. Otherwise, there's you can't just do it for you. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Good for you. And good looking merch too.
I forgot to turn on the Naquita reactor. So yeah, these are most half of this stuff is fan made. The other half is props, but there are some talented people out there, man.
So great.
So
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thanks so much for having me, and
absolutely,
gosh, and Stargate fans are the best.
they are right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right, brother. You take care of yourself,
Yeah.
okay? It's good to see you.
All right. See ya.
Courtenay J Stevens, everyone. Elliot in Stargate SG-1. Keras in Stargate Atlantis. Greg Fenstad, do you have any idea if Master Replicas has their hands on any Eagle Moss 304s to put up as they move through their catalog? I think that they were all sold out. So the only one that where's the 304? There it is, next to the Zelda thing. This was a fan made one. This is not from the Eagle Moss stock. I think that Darren has one, if I'm not mistaken, and I know that they've got the gliders, and they've got, which the Hataks that they did a version of that's also a fan made one, but I haven't seen any of those. And I would really love to have the folks on from Master Replicas on to discuss the transfer of the inventory from Eagle Moss, because that was just a shock. They had made so many starships and everything else, and I don't know. If I do get wind that they've found, like they pull down like on a light or something, and a hidden wall opens up in their warehouse, and there's the missing inventory of 304s, we'll definitely report on it. But I'd like to get those guys on one way or another, because that's a wild story. Yeah, absolutely. All right, gang, we're going to wrap it up here. Let me see here. Thanks to my moderating team, Tracy, Reese, Jeremy, Anthony, Summer, for continuing to make the show possible. Big thanks to Frederick Marcoux over at Concepts Web for keeping our website going, and Linda Gategaber Fury as well, my producer. So we're going to keep this going. Next week, we've got, if I've got the information here right, I have Tiffany Little Knight coming up on May the 4th. So she's going to be joining us Australia time. So for us over here, Pacific time, it's going to be 4:30 p.m. on May the 4th. And then next Saturday, Edward Gross, who's writing Chevron's Locked, that comes out this week. Check it out on Amazon. And Jennifer Spence, who was on Stargate Universe. So she played Lisa Park. We've got a lot more coming up for you before I end season 3 here. So I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again to Courtenay J Stevens for joining me this episode. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I will see you guys on the other side.